Hello, all. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. Before we begin into this, let me share a personal target that I've set for the YouTube and where we are going with this because the projected timeline for that target is tomorrow. Okay, so every year, whenever I reach to a certain milestone, I update the description page of YouTube channel with some of my personal projection that I think how I should be kind of working toward the channel. So last year in April 2025, this year in April 2025, I set a projection of 6,000 subscribers by 14th November as my birthday gift. Thank you for everyone who helped to kind of reaching near to that target. I didn't hit that. It's still 5.8k subscriber, which is pretty decent. So thank you everyone to helping to kind of achieve that target. If you're still watching this, just a announcement that please go ahead and subscribe. As you can see on the screen, there are majority of people who haven't subscribed to the channel. If there's something wrong that I'm doing, do let me know into the comments. I'll try to improve into this. If you find any value out of this channel anytime, please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That helps us to understand how we are doing and all. And if you don't like to subscribe, at least share it with some people who get value out of this channel if you think. Okay, that's all about the personal target that I was talking about. Let's come back to the today's discussion. So if you have seen the previous video where we talked about installation, and let me open that if I can quickly, where we did talk about the installation of Business Central 2025 release wave 2. And if you have watched this video, we were a little bit confused why Microsoft is saying that you need SQL 2022 for Business Central 2025 release wave 2. And during that interaction, I said in that video that I'm going to try it on a prior version of SQL, because based on the Microsoft documentation that is available on MSDN, and let me try to pop that up if I can. Yes, yeah, it very clearly says it doesn't specify the SQL version. So if Microsoft, you're watching this, make sure going forward, please specify the minimum SQL version that's needed for a specific Business Central version on premise. But if you look at it, it says that it need to have full text semantic, which is available prior to the version that we are talking about. And then it talks about that if you don't have it, the SQL Server 2022 Express 64-bit edition with full text and semantic extraction search feature is required. If it's not, the installer will install it. Now we know that the full text and semantic extraction was part of the previous SQL versions also. So what we are going to do today, we are going to see what the challenge is if you don't have SQL Server 2022, and then how you kind of bypass that to install your Business Central 2025 release wave 2 on a prior SQL version. So for the demonstration, what I have is I have a SQL Server which is 15.0. That becomes, if I'm not wrong, 2019 SQL Server, which is not 2022. And I only have one database, which is for BC26 at this moment. Additionally, I've already installed BC 27.1 US version onto this machine. The only thing that is not installed is the SQL Server component. Now let's try to understand it, why I have done that. So when you try to run the setup, and I'll rerun it because I have already ran it, so that should not be a problem. In this case, what you'll see that I'm actually getting an option to either add or remove or repair or uninstall the product because I have partially installed it. If I try to see what I missed or what I did not install is the demo database. If I try to enable this component and try to hit next and then say install it on my SQL Server, which is my local SQL Server, and call it something like this and hit apply, it should end up with an error message, and there is a reason behind it why your SQL Server database component will not get installed when you try to install it during the installation. And that's the problem that we are trying to tackle into this video, that how you kind of get access to it without without upgrading your SQL if you're just doing upgrade for SQL Server for Business Central. If it's a process in your company, then go ahead. But if you're just doing it for Business Central, then you don't need it. You can still use your SQL Server 2019 to get your Business Central installed. And that's what we will explore. So just give it a moment and see where it goes. So here it is. It says that there was some modification that has warnings. And here it says that the fatal error happened during installation, restored, terminated abnormally. Okay, not a problem. Let's try to, oh, it did restore a database and it has nothing. Okay, so let's try to copy the name. Let's try to manually restore that database to understand where the problem is. Okay, so I go into restore database and then I get it from the device. I need to find a folder. Okay, BC 27.1, and then inside this you have a folder for SQL demo database. So when you try to restore this, and let's keep the name as it is, it says the restore of database has failed, and when you click on it, it'll tell you the exact error message, which is that SQL client, the database was backed up on a server running on 16.004215, and you cannot restore a database which was taken from a higher version to a lower version of SQL. So that's causing the error message during your installation if you don't have SQL Server 2022. So how we resolve that? Now, if you have been following this channel, you might have seen a other series that I do with every launch is try to set up a new blank database for that version. I know what the next question is. Oh, but even if I create the blank database, what about the demo data that I use for my demonstration purpose or for my learning purposes? Don't worry, stay with me and we'll figure that out. Okay, so let's start it with PowerShell and make sure that you are running it as an administrator because that's important, right? First thing first, let's tell PowerShell that we are going to work with some, and let me zoom this in. Okay, that we are going to work with some PowerShell commands for Business Central 27, right? So Microsoft Dynamics Business Central 270 service.ps1. What this command does, it loads all the Business Central commands here which are available in the administration cell so that we can use it. We'll refresh the command panel and then we'll look for new nav database. Now remember, the new nav database command is used to restore a database if you have a backup. If you don't have a backup, then you cannot use it. So then what we do, you change that command from new nav application database, that creates an application database for you, and we call it, let's say, test BC 27.1 US. Okay. So this will be my target database name, and I'll use the Windows location. I'll use the default collation, and my database will be, the file related to that database will be placed inside the databases data, and my server is localhost. Okay, so I'll just copy this so that it's readable. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a new application database, which is the new nav application database, the database name, the database location, and the database server. What this will do is it'll create a new empty database on my SQL Server. So let's hit run, And what it is doing, it's going to create a new database here on my SQL Server as it completes. So as you can see here that the command has been completed, and you can also see the database here, which is at this moment is an empty database. It has some navigation system tables, and that's the reason you should create the database from here, so that the some tables which are related, uh, which helps system to understand that it's a business central database, are automatically created. Okay, what next? Now we need to go ahead and update our service tier to say, okay, this is my database. So first let's do a get nav server configuration for the service that I have, which is default installed BC270. If it's running, now it's going to fetch all the settings, but what I'm interested at is the database name. So when I come down here, it says the database name that I was trying to give it to while I was trying to install it, which is, let's see that. Okay, yes. So here it is, demo database PC 27.1, and that's the database name property. Now what we can do is we can change the setting by saying set nav server configuration server instance BC270, key name as whatever the key is, which is database name, and key value is whatever my database name is. So our database name that we have created is this. So I can just copy it here and paste it here. Now once I change something on the service tier, we all know that we have to restart the service. So let's go ahead and write restart nav server instance. What it'll do, it'll set the database name and it'll restart it. Okay, so let's do that. So what we have done, we have created a nav application database, and then we have restarted the service by mapping the new database name into my service tier. With that, what will happen is now the service PC270 is actually pointing to the newly created database that I have created, and that way it'll understand it. Now while the restart is happening, let's build the command set. Oh, it's already restarted. So the first thing, to make sure that everything is in place, we just need to make sure that we run the sync nav tenant server instance BC270. Now I'll do, I'll just check that all the tables, everything is in place and it's operational at this moment. Now yes, it is operational and I should be able to kind of go into it and access it. Let me try to see if I have what happens if I try to access that right now. Okay, so let me try to do my localhost, or maybe from ISS I should have gone from there. That makes it simpler, but localhost, it's 8080 slash BC270. Now if everything goes well, it should kind of show me a login screen and say that, okay, I'm here, you're good in this environment at this moment. Remember, there are no apps installed, there's no data into the system at this moment. There is only a empty database which is pointing to a service. The next step that we have to do is surely need to have some apps available. So it says could not open the company because there is no company or you don't have the permission. So let's create a company if that's needed. New nav company, and then company name, let's say Saurav Cronus. Okay, and my server instance is BC270, where this company should be created. And if you want it to be an evaluation company, you can just set this like this. What this PowerShell command will do, will create the new company that we needed, and then when we try to access the same thing again, I hope it does allow me to come in with the new company that has been built. So let it kind of process at the moment. And what we can do in the meantime is we can come in and try to install the apps that we need. So let's build the publish nav app, which is my server instance, and then the path of the app. Now there are multiple apps which are needed. So I'm just going to copy paste this. Now there are 4 major apps. So the first one is our system application, because that holds the core of the system. Now where do you find it? You get into a product DVD inside applications folder, and then you find the system application. Okay, let's see, where is that? System application. And then inside source you find, and let me zoom this in, sometime it kind of gets smaller. Okay, here is the system application. So I'm just going to copy as path and paste it here. In the meantime, if you notice, there's nothing happening at this moment. I'm going to wait for it. Now we all know that the next one, the major one that we need, is the base app, but there is a prerequisite for the base app already. So we need to have that first, which is my business foundation. I'll go in here, copy this as path, and get this in place. Next one is my base app. So let me go into the base app and find the app, copy as path. Now the last one that I consider part of the core application set is my application app. And believe me, you can skip it. It'll only give you problems if you don't have it and you're trying to connect to this environment with your VS Code. But for people who think that it's important, I'll get 4 of these installed. Now, so that we can see it, what I'm going to do right now is I'm only going to publish the first 2, because the other, at least the base app, takes a lot of time. So I'm going to wait for it and just publish these 2. Now publishing surely places this app into your tenant, but it does not make it operational. So the next set of things that we have to do is synchronize, and let me copy from my what we call that, GitHub, so that it's easier for you and saves time. So the other set of step for the new app is make sure that they are synchronized and they are installed so that they are operational on the client side. So as this is happening, what will happen right now is the publishing of the 2 major apps, or 2 apps which are minimum required for me to operate, is system application that's getting published, which is, to be very frank, that's the only app that you need to have an operational business central environment at this moment. And then we are also getting published and synchronize the base app, because that kind of brings the number series and other common business foundation framework objects into my tenant. And then I might, because it takes a lot of time, I might pause the video and we'll do the base application, which takes a little bit of time because it's a pretty big giant app. And then at the end we'll do the application, the same set of steps for application, still publishing the 2 apps even if they are small. So I'll pause the video and we'll see once that is over. Okay, so those 2 has been published. Let's try to refresh this to see what happens, because now the 2 apps, which is the application and the business foundation, are published, but they are not yet synchronized. Should I synchronize them? Maybe. Let's try that. So now I'm going to sync these apps, which kind of validates or compiles these apps against the tenant that I have, or the service. After this step, what I'll do, or it's done. So I can just go ahead and install these 2 apps just to make sure that I have been running operational business central environment, which is still loading on this screen at this moment. Once these get installed, I should have an operational business central 2025 release wave 2 version, that I can use. At this moment, you will not find your customer table and vendor table, but you will have access to your business central environment. You see a blank profile because the profiles are part of your base app. But if you get into your extension management at this moment, you'll notice that you have the two apps that are coming from Microsoft. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish these two also, which is my base app as well as my application app. Now, as I said, it takes a little bit of time, so I'm going to pause it, and then we'll be, after these getting published, sync and installed, we'll be in a stage of taking it from there to have importing data into it very easily. That's available in product DVD. So stay with me while these are getting installed. Okay, so it seems the publishing of the base app and the application is completed. Let's quickly check that. Once you are here, let's refresh this page. We should see 4 app now: the application, base application, business and all, right? Now let's see the status of these. So the 2 of them are synced and installed, but the other 2 are not. So you can install them from here if needed, which behind the scene automatically runs the sync process also. Or you can still follow the same path, as in you can sync from here and then install it from here also. It's your choice, right? It's one and the same thing. Once these extensions kind of get installed, you'll get a empty Business Central 2025 release wave 2 database, which then typically in the previous time whenever we have done this video, we tried to make this database from the perspective of doing a new implementation. Now, but this time it's a little bit different, so we'll move a little bit ahead and see how you can use it for different purposes if you have the situation of not having SQL Server 2022 on your machine and you still want to use BC27. Now, as on all these videos, I only talk about the core apps, which you can see the 4 core apps that are available here: the system application, business foundation, base application, and application. Now, this is majority of the legacy code base that's available and has been split into these 4 apps. But if you're following this right now and you would like to add more apps from the Microsoft ecosystem, which are available in the product DVD, you can just go ahead and follow the 3 steps for all those apps. And let me just let this installation begin. Okay, install. Okay, coming back to here. So if you have more apps that you think will be needed for your learning, for your customer, or for your demos, just go ahead and install those apps. That's not a problem. I'm just talking about the 4 apps to keep the video short. But you have all the rights and permissions to go back into the product DVD application folder and choose whatever apps make sense to you. Just keep in mind that there might be a dependency issue that you need to keep in mind before installing an app. For example, if you're trying to install, let's say, let me take an example, email SMTP connector, there might be a dependency before installing this. You need to have a 365 connector. So just keep that in mind about the dependencies that you have, and if the dependencies are in place, you'll be able to kind of install these apps. Now we surely will need permissions, right? So I'm just going to install this permission set extension to kind of explain you how easy it is, right? So you can just follow the same process, which is publish. Let me paste this to keep it simple. Okay, and then copy it from here and paste it here. Now what will happen with this is when I run this will publish the permission extension into my tenant, and I'll be able to kind of use those permissions if needed, right? So if I refresh it here now, I should be able to see it. I can surely follow the same step of sync and install from PowerShell, but just to save time, I'm doing it from here. Okay, so in the same way, you can just keep on following whatever applications you need. Okay, now let's come to the moot point. Yes, I was able to set it up like this, but what I do with this, because I'm not using it for deployment, I'm not using it for my uh, go live scenario where I don't need any data. I'm actually using it for my testing, and I need some data. I need some customers, I need some vendors, some items, and so on and so forth. Now, if you have worked with Business Central in past and have created a new company, at least in cloud, what you'll notice that in companies page in cloud, you cannot directly hit new. You have to use the wizard to create a new company. This wizard gives you three options: evaluation, production, and create new with no data. Why I'm talking about it? Let's see that. So when you come here and if you go to your configuration package, and then if you try to import a package, now there are some packages which are part of your product DVD. So when you go into your BC25 product DVD, you'll notice that there is a configuration package. Inside configuration package, there are three kind of packages. One is a standard, which is the small one with the least amount of majorly the setup data and all. The second one is extended, evaluation based on the size we are looking at it. And the third one is extended. Now extended surely contain sample data for your service and manufacturing also, whereas evaluation contain the common data and all, and the standard only contain the setup data. I'm not going to bring in everything, but let's assume that I'm using evaluation. You just open this and it brings all the tables with the data that you have in your Cronus environment with essential license, not the premium license for sure. And then these tables or this package then can be used to import the data into your system as per your need, right? So what we'll do is we'll pick some sample tables that you would like to use, and then we'll live with it. I guess hopefully that'll work. While applying this, if you're going to kind of apply this completely, then make sure that you have the right set of order set for these tables. Like you need to have the setups first, you need to have the master data first, and then you can get into the transaction table and surely the ledger tables after that. So when you open this package, this is for US, but in your regional product DVD, you surely get for yours, right? Now here is the list of all the tables that comes with this package with certain amount of data. Let's test this. So right now, if I look at into the payment terms, that's the first table, I see nothing here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this table and do a apply data. And because I have only selected one table, it have processed one table and there are 11 record inserted. So now if I go into my payment terms, I'll be able to see 11 payment terms that has been created, which surely comes with the Cronus database, right? If you're okay with it, you can also do an apply package that'll start inserting data into multiple tables as it kind of comes into the picture. It might have some errors, not errors, but dependencies. Let's put it that very correctly. And then if you want to do it in multiple tables together like this, you're sure that these are your main tables. Let's pick customer also. For customers, I'll surely need the setup. So I'll just pick these at this moment and then apply data. As I hit apply, we'll start importing data into currency, finance charge terms, language, country, region, shipment method, translations, salesperson, purchaser, and location for sure. So what's going to happen is this package is being applied on your database. I'll say, okay, that seems a lot of work. And I haven't tried this, but let me give it a try. If you try to create a new company and choose these options that are available on your wizard for company creation, it doesn't automatically start creating data, right? It uses these packages, and let me import all three packages into it. So I have chosen evaluation. Let's choose standard. What a new company creation does, that it runs these packages while the new company creation is happening, so that you get some dummy data based on your choice. So if you look closely into the package that's being imported, it's majorly around the setup tables. So this one is used for the option in your company creation wizard when you say setup data only, and that package runs and brings only the setup data into the new company that you're creating. So that's how Microsoft is doing it. So if you look at it, there are only 192 table into the standard one, and all these are majorly the setup tables that you see here. There are some customers and vendors also, which is a little bit surprising, but that's how it works. So now if you go into your companies and try to create a new company with the wizard and say, okay, I would like to create a T1 company, and this time I would like to take the setup data. It says it's not installed. Do you want to no, I don't want to install them. And because there is not this setup data or the Contoso demo app installed, it doesn't allow you. Otherwise, what happens when this app is installed, it automatically shows you an option of what you want to select, and then based on it, it automatically picks up the rapid start packages that it need to install while bringing the data for you. Okay, so if you are doing it for your learning, coming back to the whole story back into it, if you want to bring the data for you for your testing and all, you can surely choose the evaluation mode or evaluation package, or the extended package that we saw into the wizard, which also brings tables from the service and the manufacturing area, which are part of the enterprise or the extended, right? So when you choose these packages will bring in the right data set that you needed for your testing. If you're using it for a production environment, I guess then we have already passed that situation without any configuration packages that comes from Microsoft for sure. You will have your own configuration packages that you can use to load the opening balances and other things into that company. So this is how you can kind of bypass a situation where you don't have a SQL Server 2022 and you would like to kind of set this up at your own, right, on a prior version, which is SQL 2019. That's what I've tried. Now, what's next? We're surely going to talk about upgrades to Business Central 27. If you have a preference, let me know into the comments, because I'm going to start recording sooner than later. And if you can, just fill in the gap. If you are not yet subscribed, try to fill in the gap that I have set for tomorrow, which is a 6,000 subscriber if you guys can for tomorrow, and then we'll continue talking about it. Now, what I want from you at this moment, if you have any questions, do let me know. If you tried on a prior version than 29, which I seriously doubt that it will work, I'm not sure. I should not say seriously. Do let me know into the comments. If there are still questions around rapid start configuration packages and all, again, let me know into the comment section, and we'll surely talk about it into the future video. If you're a customer and watching this and need our services, do reach out to us at info@adityaconsulting.com. We'll be happy to help you, and not just customers, partners also. Thank you and have a nice day. I'll see you sooner than later into the next video.